Ask that question again. What are your goals? What are your future? Who do you want to be when you grow up? And every now and then check in by asking a simple question. Where are you supposed to be? The bell was ringing and I came to ring your bell and ask you the question, Father, where are you supposed to be? And ask that question to your children. Where are you supposed to be? And don't you quit until you're number one. And I believe collectively as a group, we're going to kick the competition's butt because we understand how important it is to think, execute, and dominate. Suck it up! Suck it up! Get tough. People want to have success. People want to make a lot of money, but they want it to be easy without any challenge. You think it was easy for me to become one of the top 450 basketball players in the world that you never heard of? The only way I made it to the NBA, that was fundamentally sound, I was mentally tough, and I never quit. And even when I wanted to quit, I had people in my life that would make sure I didn't quit. I hired and with the best of doing, I could be the best too. I watched game film on Michael Jordan. No matter how much I watched, I couldn't do what Michael Jordan could do. I would watch Magic Johnson. I couldn't do what Magic Johnson could do. But I sat there and had these videos. I watched Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins. My whole wife was scared. I was scared. I called him to my office and I said what husbands say. I said, babe, we're going to be okay. Every month the checking account was driven. I said, babe, we're going to be okay. Let's start a motivational speaker. I go to Jerry Sloan and I say, Jerry, I'm trying to make your team, but since we don't scrimmage, I feel like I can't show you what I can do. Go to the crowd, hear me clearly, listen to his answer, and it will unlock some mysteries as to how you become the best in the world at what you do over a long period of time. Jerry, I'm trying to make your team, but I feel like I can't show you what I can do. He says, Walter, I already know what you can do. But if you want to make my team, I suggest you listen, follow directions, and execute. Listen, follow directions, and execute. What I didn't realize, even though we did practice, throughout practice, we did drill, and he created what I call habits and rituals. Every single day, practice was the same. Every single day, we drilled on fundamentals. Every single day, we worked on the habits and rituals. So even though my mind was floating, even though I was selfish and self-centered, he was conditioning me into the culture through practice of habits and rituals. The reason why I tripled my NBA income in 3 years is because of habits and rituals. Next year, if your name didn't get called to come across the stage, I'm here to tell you they will call your name next year if you go back home and execute habits and rituals. I wanted to scrimmage for me, but Jerry Sloan was getting.
Oh my God. Gold belly could be in your belly very shortly.
Get matched with a sex stylist for free. Get your own personalized recommendations. At Sex.
Ready to play for the Utah Jazz. So every day it was about habits and rituals. Having hot food is about habits and rituals. Great customer service is about habits and rituals. Being the best in the world at what you do, being a pro, is all about habits and rituals. Let me tell you something. I learned a very valuable lesson when I played for the Utah Jazz. I had a point guard on my team who's arguably the best point guard in the history of the NBA. His name is John Stockton. John Stockton would go to a chiropractor 4 times a day on game day. You know what I said to myself? I'm not doing that. It doesn't take all that. John Stockton played 19 years in the NBA. I played 3. You would have thought I'd have been smart enough to watch a Hall of Famer and just shut my mouth, hop in the car, and go with them. No! My mind say, yeah, it doesn't take all that. I refuse it. Man, John Stockton, you OCD or something? Why are you going to a chiropractor 4 times a day? He swore by his chiropractor. That man played point guard in the NBA until he was 40 years old. And he didn't retire because he got slow. He retired because he refused to wear baggy shorts. He loved his Daisy Dukes. Every day on game day, that man was going to a chiropractor 4 times a day. And in my immature basketball mind, I would say, it doesn't take all that. I don't need to do all that. I'm an award-winning motivational speaker because now I pay attention to details. Another peak performance truth. Peak performance. A detail-oriented. My college career was over. I got offered a job to become a hospital administrator. 2-year program, $75,000 job. And right before I took the job, my daddy called me on the phone. Let me tell you about my daddy. When I was a little boy, my daddy would always pick me up. When he came home from work, he picked me up. When he saw me in the nursery after church, he picked me up. No matter how long he was, no matter how tired he was, my dad would always pick me up. So when I had my kids, I would always pick up my kids. When I got home, sometimes I was tired. They had the Bible in one hand, and they just lifted up the other hand, and they knew what daddy was supposed to do. My job was to pick them up. This is a spiritual interaction. When you pick up a child, it is a spiritual transaction. When you pick up a child, you change their perspective. When you pick up a child, all of a sudden they can see the world the way you see it. I don't care what your children have done, there's nothing they can do for you to stop picking them up. Well, my daughter's a drug addict, I don't care, pick her up. My son messes up, I don't care, pick him up. I don't care. You pick them up. That is your job, mama. That is your job, daddy. That is your job, grandma. That is your job, granddad. Your number one job is to pick them up and change their perspective. My saddest day, one day, my daddy looked at me and said, boy, you too big. I can't pick you up anymore. But when he couldn't pick me up physically, he would pick me up emotionally. He would pick me up spiritually. I had a great dad because he would always pick me up. He would always change my perspective. So my daddy called me on the phone, he asked me a question. He said, son, you had a tough year, what's next? I said, Dad, I'm going to be a hospital administrator. He said, not bad, but let me ask you a question, son. Do you believe you're an NBA player? Can I produce yourself in this? If you don't think so, go get the job. If you believe you're an NBA player, go for it. My dad had self-control and discipline and waited for my answer. And my answer was yes. You're right, Dad. I can't wait the rest of my life. Picking the NBA is a dream I've had ever since I was a little boy. It's the best for son. I went back into my coach's office with a gas to my mother. Tears in my eyes. I said, Coach, what do I need to do to play in the NBA? He said, do 2 things you can play in the NBA. Lose 20 pounds and shoot a 3-point shot from range, you can play in the NBA. If you lose 20 pounds and shoot a 3-point shot from range, you can play in the NBA. I lost 20 pounds, and every day I would shoot 5 more shots a day, every single day. I went back to training camp with the Dallas Mavericks, and not only did I make the team, I became the first ever undrafted rookie player in the NBA.
Those little lies are not actually attacked with God's truth. What happens is slowly but surely we find ourselves becoming bound, and we begin to have things we call strongholds in life. Every person may not send us life. Our plans may not stay on schedule. There may be some bumps in the road and things that we didn't see coming. If you're only going to enjoy the day if your plans work out, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
I like what you just said, and you are right, and I have done that. Telling God what to do is not praying, and it's exactly right. We give God our grocery list like he's Instacart.
We can talk about making decisions in general, but I want to talk to you specifically tonight about making your own decisions and not allowing other people to make the decisions for you.
For some reason in your mind, you associate dysfunction with success. You know to do better, but you don't want to do better. Self-sabotage, self-defeat is real. I woke up with anxiety this morning, not last week, this morning. I'm the motivator. Hear what I say, it will mean something to them that will help them to get on the other side of what they're dealing with. I pointed out that in an uncertain climate, you don't just drift, you don't just float. Instead, you set short-term goals. You set long-range goals, and you don't know where the world's going.
You've all had that feeling on a Friday night or late on a Saturday where you've made plans and then all of a sudden as it gets closer and closer to you needing to get off the couch or to head home from whatever it was that you were doing, and you start to feel this heaviness and this dread in your body.
Ideology can blind you to your own stupidity, and that's actually dangerous. So we could take the case of poverty, for example, and I think we could all agree that poverty as such is undesirable. So that's the starting point and the motivation. And then you might say, well, what is poverty?
I think more times than not in life, people treat God like a Santa Claus. And then when they don't get the gift that they thought they were going to get, the cost. Like I'm a firm believer that God redirects and maneuvers us when he has us on a mission, right? And in the redirection, I think true courage is the ability to embrace what we don't understand.
You know, a lot of times we only think about our problems and we fail to think about all the good things that God has done in our life. That's why it's good to start every day with Thanksgiving. Thinking about things that you can be thankful for. During a time when I was having some pretty serious health problems, and I remember how bad I felt, and I compared it with how I felt now, and I thought, my gosh, God has done so much for me. I want to talk to you about God's governance. We all have things that come against us. It's easy to live uptight, wondering how it's going to work out. What if the medical report isn't good? What if my finances don't get better? What if my child doesn't get accepted in that school? We tried to figure it out. We've done our best, but we don't see anything changing. But there's a simple phrase. You have to keep down in your spirit, God's got this.
You got to get tunnel vision to reach your goal. You have to put blinders on and say, I'm laser being focused on this. But know this, the road to success is always under construction. So just know it, when you strike out on your goal, you're going to have to get ready for flexibility. Because it's going to be detours, pitfalls, stop signs, men working, delays, detours, going around. That has to be expected. Do not take the easy route. Do not give up based on instinct. If you are forced to stand down, to retreat, so that you can rebuild and reattack, so be it. But make that decision based on logic.
Don't take no food out of my house. You can eat as much as you want when you here, but do not pack a plate. And most of y'all running with people who, when you fix food, they come to your house and take it to go plate. They don't bring nothing. They not trying to help you. All they in your life to do is take. And you wondering why your life messed up. Because you went.
How you address it is you face it. You face it every day. You face it every single day of your life. Where you say, okay, like if you're fat and you lose weight, it's patience. It's patience in this fact of accepting who you are right now. I'm fat. I don't like myself.
Take full responsibility for your life. Accept where you are and the responsibility that you're going to take yourself where you want to go. Someone said we have two primary choices in life. We can either accept conditions as they exist, or we can take the responsibility to change them. See, a lot of people want to exempt themselves from taking responsibility. All they want to do is talk about the problem.
Can you change people that don't want to change? Of course you can change people who don't want to change. Now, for some people, leverage is not even the threat of their own life. Some people rather die than have you tell them what to do. And so that's not the leverage. The leverage for them might be something for their children. Leverage for them might be spiritual growth.
So if you want something to pull you through all kinds of challenges, all kinds of difficulties, and things that come at you, you've got to have something on out there, beyond today, beyond next week, beyond next month, beyond this year, that pulls you into the future. And the clearer it is, the stronger it pulls.
One of the things that's so remarkable about the Old Testament, this is another thing Nietzsche commented about. He was a real admirer of the Old Testament, not so much of the New Testament. He thought it was a sin for Europe to glued the New Testament onto the Old Testament, because he thought the Old Testament was a really accurate representation of the phenomenology of being. It's like, stay away, speak properly, be honest, or watch the hell out. And if they ever saw us for who we are, if they ever saw how stupid we feel, if they ever saw how inexperienced we feel, if they really saw how nervous we really feel, they would kick us out the room. It happens to fathers, it happens to mothers, it happens to leaders, it happens to teenagers. The fear of being found out to be less than they thought you were.
I would fight a bear to protect that time that I have with God in the morning, because I know that I absolutely 100% for sure cannot be the kind of person that God needs me to be to glorify Him and do what I'm doing if I don't have that time with God. But it took me a long time to get there. I was no different than anybody else. I made every excuse. I got distracted, on and on and on and on. And God finally got it across to me: you are not going to stay alive if you don't spend time with me. Don't think like everyone else. Don't think like the 10 spies. When the majority is afraid, worried, negative, you have to be on the offensive and say, no, I'm not falling into that trap. I'm not going to think weak, defeated thoughts. I'm going to think power thoughts. I know my God is still on the throne. I know Him being for me is more than the world being against me.
You have a say-so in that. You can decide to be it. And with God's help, it's kind of cool. But you first have to think. The difference between successful people and non-successful people is here. I'm no better than none of them. I'm not a better person than you. I'm not a better Christian than you. God don't love me more than you. None of that.
Discipline is eating the right foods to fuel your system. It's about disciplining your emotions so you can make good decisions. It's about having the discipline to control your ego so your ego doesn't get out of hand and control you. It's about treating people the way you would want to be treated.
Tell a little homie, do me a favor. You got 3 minutes, little homie, to give me that little crime story. You got 3 minutes. Tell me when you're ready and go. You will not take 10 minutes of my time. Why? And crying about it. You give me 3 minutes and give me your story. You got 10, 15 minutes to give me a solution. Nobody want to hear that, because after the end of it,
Once you start breaking through that barrier and start breaking down that governor that you've put in your mind, because we forget we are in control of our mind. We believe it's the other way around. No, we put in our minds what we should do, but we believe our mind is telling us, it's giving us all this feedback, but it's okay.
These people have decided, as they look at the future, as they look at themselves, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way for me to begin to create a way out of no way. They're not afraid about tomorrow because of how they see themselves, because of what they feel that they deserve, because of what they feel that they can create for themselves.
Your fear, or your greed, or your desire, or your comfort, or your, he knows what I'm talking about here. Say, but watch this. When you can obtain, it takes your willpower, you're going to avoid it. The problem is certainly when you can obtain the things you need, like exercise, right? Or obtain what you need, like a relationship, right? And it's the wrong association that's going to control your life.
Don't ask for security, ask for adventure. Better to live 30 years full of adventure than 100 years safe in the corner. And see, it's not important how long you live. What's important is how you live.
But you need something to put up against that. And what you put up against that is meaning. Meaning is actually the instinct that helps you guide yourself through that catastrophe. And most of that meaning is to be found in the adoption of responsibility. So if you think, for example, if you think about the people that you admire, well, you think about when you have a clear conscience first, because that's a good thing to aim at, which is something different than happiness, right?
People that lives were spared because of situations that happened and they were out of their control. And a lot of people didn't speak about it because a lot of people didn't know about it. So in turn, Pastor, they talked about this one gentleman that worked in one of the buildings. And that morning, I'll never forget, they said he was getting ready to leave home. And his wife came to him and said, hey, can you take our daughter to kindergarten today?
We let all the good stuff sink to the bottom. And all we've got on our mind, or you might say the top of our life, is all the problems. We can have all kinds of problems and yet not be in despair, not be crushed, not be abandoned, not be destroyed.
Instead of trying to force it to happen, living uptight, you have to let go and let God. When you turn it over to Him and say, God, I know you've got this. I know you're in control. Not only will you feel the heaviness, the weight lift off of you, but God will make things happen that you couldn't make happen.
I used to think that the path to success was going at it alone, because I was always busy priding myself on not asking for help. I was homeless, I didn't want to ask for help. I lived in a car, I didn't want to ask for help. And I almost missed out. I didn't realize how many people were willing to have discussions with me about success. You know, most people that are successful, if you ask them for help, they'll give it to you. I'm talking about principles and advice.
And the first step for me is doing that, taking that look to gain some perspective. And then in order to gain perspective, you got to do something that we already talked about. You've got to detach. You've got to detach from the problems or the stress that you're experiencing so that you can get that perspective of them.
You got to work from truth. And some of us don't want to do with truth because it's so difficult. E.T., you dropped out of school. E.T., you grew up in a certain community. In order for you to be able to do what you need to do like a Tony Robbins, there's some things that you don't have in your arsenal that if you can just admit you don't have it in your arsenal, then you can go get it. But until you admit that you don't have it, you'll never be able to do it. I need you to be a huge favor. I just need you to be real. And the reason why a lot of y'all don't want to be real is some of you would rather be in the lie than have not have anything.
You're all by yourself. I was kind of thinking about someone here. You see better than John.
You can decide that I'm going to live You have the power to make that decision. You can decide, I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences. They're not stronger than I am. I'm in charge here.
If you have enough leverage and you break some pattern in time, and your pattern will show up. If you're conscious, you can create the new pattern. So the answer is yes. Now then the question is, Tony, if all things is leverage, then why don't most people change? The only way people change is if they associate either enough pain, so they have to change, or they associate changing will equal enough what? And ideally, if you get both, you'll change.
You've got the dream. Don't lose your dream for yourself, for your future, for your family. Dreams of love and enterprise and travel and doing things, becoming something unique on your journey here. Don't lose your dream. Do some dreaming.
If you have any sense, you think, geez, I better be careful and tap myself down a fair bit, because if I get too puffed up, something's going to come along and take me out at the knees. And everyone knows that pride comes before a fall. If you have any fear of God, I've never seen anyone ever get away with anything at all, even once.
We've recently released our first ever apparel drop. To be the first to get your swag, go to shop.motiversity.com. That's shop.motiversity.com. Something I wanted to share with you guys I think you might find helpful is this idea about balance and how we're always looking to find that balance in our lives. But I think a few things are important. Number one, acknowledging just how hard it is and how difficult it is to find that balance. It's much easier said than done. Like you guys, I've got babies to raise, babies to feed, bills to pay, food to put on the table, relationships to maintain, businesses to run. It's hard. But what I also found is two keys. Number one is discipline. Apply discipline to take care of yourself. The other one is communication. And this is really important because I found if you get curious and you communicate with people around you, like, hey guys, I need some help finding my balance. You'd be surprised how fast people come to help you. You've got to take care of the thing that allows you to do what you do. And that thing is you. So take care of you and find that balance. I've learned this over time. I've learned it through experience. It's taken me a while. It's taken me years. But I have learned the power of intention, the power of purpose, and having real purpose and drive behind your thought process is, when you have that level of intentionality and you have real drive and purpose behind what you do, what you say, how you act, on the other side of that, you are slowly defining day by day your legacy. So think about that for a second, right? You think about the legacy because that's one of the words that can often get lost. In any event, power and purpose, find your intention, let's set it today, let's go. What are the keys to success? What's your secret to success? Well, there really is no secret. I think it's the same basic building blocks and tenets that we all know. Surround yourself with high quality people who believe in the same values and principles and philosophies that you do, and not just in business as entrepreneurs, but just as human beings. You want to treat people right, treat them good, make them feel good, think big, think outside of the box, be disruptive with your thoughts, and remember, just because something's never been done before doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means we haven't figured out a pathway on how to get it done, and we will get it done. I always like to say, too, it's nice to be important, more important to be nice. Now, the B side of that is every once in a while you got to tell somebody to fuck off. As you guys know, football was my dream. My goal is to make it in the NFL and then go on and play in the Super Bowl. Football gave me purpose, especially at a time when I needed it, especially here in Hawaii. As a teenager, I was running around here, I was picking up all the time, I was getting arrested. So football gave me purpose. That didn't work out for me, but of course pro wrestling gave me life. The thing I want to share with you is sometimes the thing we want most in life is the best thing that never happened. It's like the dreams that don't come true because it sets us on a path and gives us blessings we never otherwise would have anticipated. And we have some things to fix and we're going to get there. I'm optimistic. I'm always optimistic. We got to have faith. We got to keep putting in the work. And I do believe we're going to get there. We'll get there. We'll definitely get there. And as I always like to say, you guys have heard me say this in the past, like I don't give a shit what color you are, where you come from, what religion you practice, what you identify as, what your bank account says, what car you drive, where you live, what part of the country you live in. It doesn't matter to me. I don't give a shit. The only thing I care about is whether or not you are a good, hard-working, decent, kind human being who treats other people fairly and you're inclusive because everybody is created equal. And of course, if you're always willing to put in that hard work with your own two hands, I got a saying, as you guys know, it's one of my favorites. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. I want to understand what's inside of me, what makes me tick, what's between my rib cage, what's up here between my ears. Well, not a lot up here, but there's a lot going on down here. And we use words like hope and optimism, and I said, yes, I'm hopeful and optimistic by nature, but let's underscore tenacity, and you've got to have a passionate, burning desire to get after your goals. And I believe when you take that kind of action with tenacity and purpose, the universe will meet you halfway. It might not happen overnight, but incrementally with consistency, it will happen. So get after your goals, use tenacity, hope and optimism for sure. Have a productive week.
What's up, man? Made it back. Another 24 hours down. It's incredible. I'm proud of you for that. And I know you don't want to be here. I get it. That state of mind. It's tough. I understand that. But don't quit. Because if you quit, you're going to wind up right back where you started. Remember when you started, how bad and how desperate you were to be right where you are right now? Yeah, I remember that. You gotta keep that same attitude, man. You gotta keep moving forward. Keep pushing it.
Don't allow fear of failure and the allure, the attractiveness of playing it safe in life to draw you in. You can't get out of life alive. You got to die to leave here.
When you're asleep, ladies and gentlemen, you need your dreams. I'm here to tell you that when you're wide awake, you also need your dreams. You must have your goals. You'll never make it as a wandering generality. You must become a meaningful specific. If you're going to work tomorrow because that's what you did yesterday, you're not going to be as good tomorrow as you were yesterday because now you're 2 days older and no closer to the goal which you do not have.
I'm telling you to keep going when you face opposition. I'm telling you to keep going when you face adversity. I'm telling you to keep going because
years from now, when you look back, make sure you remember one thing about this moment. That you gave everything you had. That you leaned in on those late nights and those early morning wake-ups. The hours upon hours in the books, the preparation, dedication, and the resilience. That you knew who you were and let it manifest and lead you into the future.
Hello, you can't get out of life alive. So there's no safe position. You can die in the bleachers or you can die on the field. You might as well come out of the field and have a good time.
No problem is permanent. Or you start thinking the problem's pervasive because I haven't handled my finances, my whole world's over. Or because my relationship's bad, my whole world's over. Or all of this is happening because there's something wrong with me. Your life is bigger than that. People need a new perspective, and you can't do it by just sitting and thinking. You got to move your body. You got to change your energy and your focus, because low level of energy, I don't care how smart you are, you're not going to use all your ability. But if I get you into a higher state of being, mentally, emotionally, physically, then all of a sudden you start remembering who you are, and you start coming up with answers that you never even thought were possible.
Doesn't it really astonish you that you are this fantastically complex thing? And that you're doing all of this and you never had any education in how to do it?
At the Rooms to Go Kids Vet Sale, save on the best selection of kids' furniture around. Shop now.
Never learned to produce this miracle. It's one of the great wonders of life.
You aren't here to simply survive or navigate foreign territory. No, you were made for this.
Most of us have been conditioned not to take a risk. People ask me all the time, what does it take to be happy? And I always tell them it's really simple. One word, progress. Progress equals happiness. If you keep growing, you're going to feel alive. And if you keep growing, you're going to have more to give. When you find a way out of no way, when you find breath that you don't have, when you find energy that did not exist, when you want this thing as bad as you want to be, that's when you find a way.
It doesn't take any motivation, any drive in order to stay down there on a low level. But it calls on everything in you, ladies and gentlemen. You have to harness your will to say, I'm going to challenge myself. Sometimes I have to pull myself out of bed and say, come on, let's. Things I know I should do, I don't do. Things I shouldn't do, I do. I found that the biggest enemy you have to deal with is yourself. There's an old African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm.
If you're willing to endure, to